Rob Brown here with Brendan Martin on this Wednesday edition of SEC
Hump
Sideline Report.
day.
Yeah, it's the hump day. Of course, it's the second straight day we do a Tuesday, Wednesday cycle in SEC basketball. So, got a great lineup, man. Ron Slay, SEC Network, former SEC Player of the Year at Tennessee back in 03. Born in Memphis, grew up in Nashville. I think he went to Pearl Cone High School. Oakley McFerrin, one of our interns, is going to be joining us right now on the Yeti Blue from Auburn. Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net. Final Four coach John Brady, color analyst on the LSU Basketball Network, will be on here. And Vince Ferrara, the sports animal in Knoxville. So, hey, take a picture. Brenda, take a picture with your phone of that QR code and be a subscriber. It doesn't cost anything, but it will be very expensive if you're not a subscriber because you'll be uninformed or misinformed. So, look, get pen and paper handy because the next hour and change is going to be worth the listen, worth the view. So let's go ahead and get started, Brendan. I know Ron's got to catch a plane here in just a few minutes, and we'll bring in Oakley with him, and we'll get some questions bouncing around. I watched you this last night in Charlotte. I thought you were on the road at a game, but how you doing, man? Welcome aboard, and we're from Memphis, and appreciate you joining us. So how about this SEC basketball season so far? It's nothing exciting at all, is it?
No, man, not at all. I think they could have did way better than this. It could have got some more talent, better coaches, some better games, a whole plethora of things, man. But when you look at it, man, it's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet, dog, man, walking through this league night in and night out. And the funny thing is, man, even the bottom teams like that are one winless in South Carolina, but you look at LSU, also Arkansas with one win. Like they can beat you at any given time. South Carolina's taken all of the big dogs to the brink, and had them just minor details and let it slip away. So that's the bottom of the league. You got 13 teams out of 16 that have been ranked throughout the year. Yeah. I think they're saying quite a bit.
I want to give you a compliment, Ron. We have a lot of guests on from hotels and crazy places, from airports. And you've got your mic. You're a pro. And if I see your boss, I'm going to tell him. Oakley McFerrin went to NBA up in Nashville. He's a freshman at Auburn, and he's part of our team. And Oakley, jump in here with some questions because you watch the basketball kind of from the younger generation. You got to be loving this, don't you? But you got the man, Ron Slay. I love the headbands, by the way. Love it. I grew up. I'm older than you.
You got to have a signature, baby.
That's right.
I saw you were loving the jungle when you came to town a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a good time, boy. Y'all have an environment down there, man, that's second to none.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the Tennessee game was loudest game I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
Ron, I got my signature hat on. See, I got this, but I get sponsored by Hewlett and Dunn, so I got to wear my cowboy hat. So
hey, that works. That works, baby. I'm trying to get me one, man. The last one I bought it when I was like 13 years. I bought it for my grandfather, man, and it was and I really wish he still had it because I would take it from him.
Well, we got the best sponsor and the best hats and boots and clothing company in the world in Tennessee. So Hewlett and Dunn will set you up. Ron, tell me about the parity in the SEC this year. We talked a lot. I'm talking basketball, obviously. We talked a lot about this last year. How good was the SEC? And then tournament time, it was kind of like not too bad. So I said, let's not get. We cover the SEC, so sometimes we're sort of blinded, right? We have blinders on. Is the SEC for real this year? Are they or are we just going to see much of what we saw last year?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go and say it's for real, man. I think when you look at it top to bottom, the talent level has changed, and not necessarily the top guys that come out and start, but the depth of each roster. I think that right there is the difference because you look at the league and you up on each other. Sometimes you limp into the tournament. I don't think that's the case. The 8th and 9th man are playing quality minutes, giving a live performance and production when they get an opportunity to get out there. And any other team in the country, they probably could go be the 6th man or the 5th man, the 4th man on the team. So I think it is for real. I think these coaches, they show that. A lot of these coaches have been there. What do we have, like 3 Final Four coach, maybe 4. I know Chris Beard, Rick Barnes. You also have Cal. Like, you got guys getting there. It's now Bruce Pearl's another one. You got to just get over the hump, and I think it's transitioning to where it's supposed to be, and I think it's about ready to take off, man. You look at it how the SEC did football. It was the same thing. Baseball was the exact same thing. Then you finally broke through and you started to see national championships come. Now it's the same thing in basketball because Michigan State has done a terrific job as far as putting responsibility on these schools to pouring into the basketball programs.
Yeah, Oakley.
Yeah, I think he's spot on. I mean, you see it with the fan involvement. There's no better environments in the country than some of the SEC home crowds. I mean, I don't know if there's a harder place to play than maybe at Tennessee, at Auburn. And just the talent, we're starting to get 5 stars in the conference.
Yeah.
And just like you said, just like with other sports, like how many teams are getting – like when Auburn starts to get a 5-star guard like Todd Pettiford from New Jersey, that kind of opens your eyes. And they get him to come be the 6th man too.
Yeah.
It kind of opens your eyes to what's really happening in the SEC.
Yeah, no question. I think it's a testament to it. You look over the years and, man, we're not only just being a conference and having to thrust ourselves up there, but like what you're talking about with the talent, man, you're in the running for Player of the Year every single year, dating back to when Jabari Smith was at Auburn. Then you go Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller was at Alabama. Then last year, Dalton Connect, challenging Zach Edey. Then you got Janai Broom this year. So that lets you know what the talent level is when you not only have the teams that are represented in the top 5 every year, but now you have players also battling for not just consensus All-American, but National Player of the Year. That right there speaks volumes, you know what I'm saying? And then that's not even counting like what you're saying, the freshman crop that's able to come in and get busy and garner recognition. That's a little different with Cooper Flagg. That's a little different. There's no knock to what he's got going on. But when you talk about the value and a guy.
Yeah. Well, I think he may have got a call, knocked him off, but Oakley, you made a great point about bringing in Todd Pettiford. You don't get a guy like that because you're lucky. You get him because he does buy into that culture of coming off the bench. And look around the SEC, the teams that have a lot of talent, they keep them from fighting because there's only one ball, and you look, the guy's got an NIL deal or he's got whatever, but hopefully Ron can jump back on. But Oakley, these crowds, and you talk about the environment at the Jungle, and then you look at the pavilion at Ole Miss and the O-Dome down there at Florida, Brendan. Good Lord, there's nowhere to go easy. Ron, we lost you there for a second, but
they can't get rid of me that easy.
No, we do not want to. But
not that easy.
You got a busy schedule. I know you've got young kids. Talk a little, if you can. I think the SEC's gain is the ACC's loss because the kids are starting to stay home. Growing up in Memphis, I mean, we used to skate on ice. We wanted to go to the Mid-South Coliseum to see the Tigers play. I grew up with Larry Finch and John Gunn and James Bradley, some just badass mothers. I'll just say that. Dana Kirk, Gene Bartow. When Cal came, listen, his first 4 years, every day people were like, he just doesn't have it. He'll never get it done. And then he caught on fire. That next 5 years was nothing short of a Billy Graham tent revival for basketball.
That's right.
But I love what you do. Oakley, you live in Nashville, when you're not at Auburn, but you do a great show on the radio. I love you and Dawn Davenport and that team. Y'all got a lot of energy, but not only do you know a lot about basketball, but you get it with football and everything. So stay with the SEC network. Don't go to the NBA network, please. But,
no doubt, man. Listen, I think, man, the essence of what the sport is, even though it's getting muddy, the water's getting a little muddy with NIL and transfer portal and things of that nature. That's where it is, man. And you right there, you get to see and witness kids turn into adults. You know what I'm saying? And watching the high school grassroots program get to college and kind of nurture that right there. And it's nothing more than being a part of that and trying to boost these guys up, these girls up, and letting them know what their platform really is. So And also to Oakley, man. Like I got NBA in my blood a little bit, man. Like that was our rivals. Like I was supposed
Yes,
to go to
sir.
NBA. I was there when we came into it with Coach Bowers when he was still there.
Okay.
My uncle David was over there coaching. I went there, dog. My going into my ninth grade year, getting ready to go into my ninth grade year. And man, I'm out there with Coach Bowers. We doing basketball practice, football practice, then got to go to summer school. And this was the problem. I'm coming from public school, dog, and they gave me this damn book list for the summer reading.
Yeah.
And to drop them books off, a stack of books, man, I went to Coach Bowers and then was like, hey, man, I don't know what y'all expect me to do with this and go train. No, we got to pick one, man. So, you know what I mean? I wasn't mature enough at 13 years old. I was always younger, too. I graduated at 17. So I wasn't, yeah, I was coming in the ninth grade at 13. I wasn't mature enough to be like, okay, I'm going to read this book, get this. Nah, hell no. I was like, nah, I'm out of here, man. Send me, send me on back, man. But I was that close, man. I had great relationships and still do with Clark Lee. That's how me and him got cool. Will Bartholomew. The list goes on and on, man, for the lineage of coming through NBA. So, and that was before the private public split when we were getting down.
Yeah.
So it was some real battles going on, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we still play each other every year in football. Yes, sir.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Ron, talk to me about what's going on with the Florida Gators. Obviously, we covered the Florida Gators here. I live here in Gainesville, Ocala area in Florida. We have Gator Bait magazine, which we've been around 45 years and covering Gator sports. You know, Todd Golden's been cleared of this allegation with title the investigation. We talked a lot. My father's Buddy Martin, writer for many, many years on Gator sports and other sports in my time or his time. But he talked a lot about how these things can galvanize a team to be better because now that they had to be strong and more of a unit to get through sort of the storm, now that the path is cleared, how good or how bad is Florida because of this? Yeah. Sorry. I was just saying how good or how bad is this something like this with Florida, you know, with Todd Golden being cleared of his allegation? Is this galvanize this team? Does it make Florida better?
Yeah, I think, man, you got to see it. You got to see it firsthand. Like one thing, it can make a team crumble and implode, or it can make a team come together. And I think this team came together and fought for their coach, more so putting out everything and blocking out the outside noise. Not saying that any of it wasn't important or none of that, but as far as being able to put your head down, put your blinders on, man, and pour into each other. I think that's what it was about. And, you know, Todd Golden is a clean-cut guy when it comes to facial hair and everything. You saw him run out there a couple of times scruffy, so that lets you know he was in the grind. You know what I'm saying? So that was good to see. But they got to understand, man, they got something special when they look at the group that they were able to bring back and add to with Elijah Martin, Will Richards stepping up, but Walter Clayton Jr., man, that dude right there, man, is a different guy, man.
Dude.
Man, you talk about playing with pace and maturing, and he's totally different than last year. He almost kind of reminds you just a bigger and more athletic of what Mark Sears was to Alabama last year.
Yeah.
Like he's picking his spots. He can go through the whole first half, not score, and then finish with 18 all efficient, timely buckets.
Oh, such a sniper.
Man, it's so serious, and it's lovely to watch. And then they got four interior guys, man, that they keep rotating, hand locked in. If he comes back, man, the punch that he's going to be able to bring.
Yeah.
So, man, that's a Final Four team, no question about it. And then that roughness, that bully mentality that you were kind of lacking on the wings as far as consistent, they got that in Elijah Martin.
A little edge.
Yeah.
Ron, I know you've got a tight schedule. One more question. Mark Sears, I watched SEC Network, and I love Patrick Young, the shooter, Pat Bradley, and you on there. I want to get Pat Bradley and you on here together. That would be a disco inferno, man. But Mark Sears was benched in the second half by Nate Oates the other day. You don't see that happening too much, but you know, you grew up old school. Anything worth having in life is worth working for.
That's right. I watch him and I understand, man. I immediately think, man, what the player and coach relationship is. You know what I mean? Especially in this day and age, there's nothing you can. It's nothing you can go out and publicly say about a player nowadays that if you haven't told them already, oh, it's about to be some head bunting going on, man. Like everybody nowadays, their ego is a little bit more. You know what I mean? It's magnified a little bit more, especially when you look at guys like a Nate Oates who's had the success that he's had. Mark Sears having the success that he's had with them together. So their relationship, regardless of what everybody is outside tweeting, cousins, family members, whatever it may be, the relationship that they have in that locker room is only one that can come in between them, and that's one of them. But to be accepting of putting the responsibility on them and being accountable, this isn't anything that Nate Oates just started doing.
Yeah.
This was, I think it came to a head in that Ole Miss game when Ole Miss went down there and disrespected Alabama at home and beat them the way that they did. I think right then the line was drawn. Like, I'm not going to accept this. The narrative is not going to be Alabama don't play defense. We just like to score a lot of points. And that's starting from the first man all the way to the 15th man, regardless of who it is. Everybody's held accountable. You saw it in the South Carolina game. He did a platoon sub and got everybody out there, met his guys at half court. Coming out of halftime because of the details wasn't met. That's how you get over the hump. That's how they tasted what it's like to get to the Final Four. Now they want to go get the whole pie. In order to do that, you got to pay attention to all the small things and be able to do it and hold not only the last guy, but your leader accountable. And if you can do that, and I think a lot of people look at him and was like, man, yeah, but he put Cliff Amori back in the game, this, that, and the other. Well, you don't know what Cliff might have said back behind the scenes. Like when he got on the guys, maybe Cliff didn't say anything. Maybe Mark Sears tried to, get his point across. Like, Coach, I was doing this. And me as a coach at that time, we trying to win the game. All right, I ain't even really got time to talk to you. You just sit right here then until you understand what we got going on.
Yeah.
I do think, man, with him being a veteran, his response to this is going to be phenomenal, in my opinion. I expect him to come out blazing for the next 3 or 4 games. Like the SEC will be put on notice, and he'll creep back up into that SEC Player of the Year conversation. Not saying he was ever out of it, but this right here, it ought to light a fire in his belly, man. And the next 4 opponents ought to be in trouble, especially with this stretch that they got coming up.
Yeah, he's from Muscle Shoals, home of the Swampers. That's where Skinner did all the recording, by the way. But Ron, look, I respect your time, and I want to keep you on schedule.
No doubt.
Will you come back on with us again soon? Because this was
man,
fantastic.
we can knock it out, man. We can get it in, dog. No problem.
All right,
Thanks,
Oakley,
Ron.
thank you. This is good stuff. Look, how do people follow you and have a safe flight?
Man, go to The Ron Slay 35 on The Ron Slay on Instagram, Twitter. Follow me 1045 The Zone 3 to 6 every day, Monday through Friday. And then the SEC Network, man. You can lock in with me, go on the sleigh ride, get in the boom room, get all these
Sleigh
things.
ride.
I love it.
Ah, man. We're going to have you on one
Take
of
some
our
marketing classes at
our
Tennessee.
evening shows.
Hey, man, listen. I come from Nashville, dog. We ain't bashful. So
Perfect. I just retweeted and tagged you in it. So thanks so much for going on. Appreciate it.
No doubt, man.
Have a safe flight, man. We appreciate
I
it.
appreciate
Thank
y'all.
you.
No doubt, fellas.
You know, the thing Brendan has taught me, Oakley, is, and he said he said he was going to have a flight, and I appreciate him going long because that's what happens. We're very blessed on this show that people like to come on, they like to stay on, they like to come back. But I like the questions, Oakley. That was some cool insight about MBA and Cone playing, because the Gentleman Scholars, I went to Christian Brothers. We have these rivalries with the public schools that, played Melrose and Hamilton forever, but those are big. And I think that was great. Great questions also. I mean, Brendan, that thing about Florida, I like what he said about.
I'm always bringing it, Rob. I'm always.
You always are.
So,
Well, Gator Bait Media, 45 years. Hey,
it's longer than that, actually.
Well, I remember when it was a newspaper, because I worked on radio in Memphis.
Gator Bait Magazine.
It was a magazine,
We bought Gator Bait Magazine in 2018, but retained the name after the school did away with Gator Bait.
Yeah.
And even though, we talked to a lot of people, Lauren Meadows, a lot of people had a long conversation about the name change and all that stuff, decided to stay with it. Glad we did. And it's a part of the tradition, the things of the SEC that we talk about. So I think we'll get more into that. Definitely. As
the shop.
Hey, did you guys know that baseball season's like here? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't- like
Hey,
it's
That
a
Oakley-
snuck up this year.
God.
Yeah, it is. They started practice this week, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
They did.
Yeah.
I'm like, no one
Yeah.
sent me the email.
Brendan, let's get inside the brain of an 18-year-old. Because
Careful.
our show gets a lot. I mean, I've been 18 and I've been my age. But
That's
you've
illegal.
only
I don't
been
know.
18.
I
But
guess 18's legal, but I don't know.
that's right. But Brendan, and I mean, or Oakley, you go to these basketball games. It's a different world. You got to spend the night at these SEC venues like Auburn. Kind of, it's all going after Krzyzewskiville at Duke. Have you done that yet? Spent the night for a game?
I'm not. So for the Tennessee game, they
Hell
didn't.
no, Oakley doesn't spend the night.
He's too busy studying. I can
No,
promise
Oakley,
you.
Oakley knows people. Oakley's got a guy that's got a guy. So he's-
No, he's going to earn it. I guarantee you that.
For the Tennessee game, there's a few girls that go to the hospital. They got like stampeded trying to get into the game.
Perfect.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because they didn't. So what they because of the snowstorm, they didn't let people camp out. So they all let them in at like 6 a.m.
Perfect.
through like small gates.
Right.
And so people
Wow.
got trampled. Yeah,
That was
there's a
so
video
smart.
on Twitter. It is insane.
Yeah.
If you are ever looking for tickets, the best scalper I've ever known in Auburn, I'm not kidding you, the guy's name is Snake. And I say, Snake, what's your last name? He goes, I ain't got no last name. Snake. But he always would be out in front of the basketball arena there and would get me tickets, scholarship, anything I wanted. And Snake lives in Atlanta. And
Do you think
yeah.
Snake was his real name?
I'll go with Snake for $50.
Well, I'm gonna go with Dudley Dawson for 25. Where are we today, Dudley Dawson?
Hogville.net.
I'm at Appalachian State.
Yeah.
App State. Look at that, beautiful. The leaves are turning. It looks great.
Dudley,
Yeah,
we-
well, you
we-
know, it's kicked in. The season has kicked in here.
Oh,
Dudley,
that's
we've
nice.
got one of our interns on the team, freshman at Auburn, wants to get into sports management and the media, Oakley McFerrin. This is Oakley Dudley Dawson, hogville.net. One of the best guys you'll ever meet. Great writer and a fanatical Cowboys, Celtics, and St. Louis Cardinals fan. I'll just tell you in the interest of full disclosure, Dudley, this man right here, Steeler Nation. I mean, the kid his room is decorated in contemporary Steeler colors.
Well, cool for that. Cool for that. I mean, you know,
I didn't know you were a big
it's been an
Steelers fan.
interesting. You know, at least they get to the playoffs. You know,
Yeah,
not
can't-
everyone wants to get there, but at least they get there.
Can't buy a game in it though.
Yeah,
Regular season, Mike, I guess.
it's not easy. Dudley, we had Ron Slay on. He's had to catch a flight. Let's talk about the Razorback. I keep saying this. The first 4 years Cal was in Memphis, it took a long time to build it. I don't think it's going to take that long at Arkansas. The games they're losing some close games. Kind of take us inside the team meeting room from everything that you know, and you, again, know basketball, having worked with Nolan Richardson and Eddie Sutton. So you're pretty good on the sport.
Well, you know, obviously they had the opportunity this past week to have 2 home games. Got one win late, couldn't pull off the other one. Didn't get a good shot off. Little mistakes like that, they don't have much margin of error, and when they do stuff like that, they can't pull it off. They're sitting 1-6, going to Kentucky this weekend. I hope there's writers that can find some storylines there. We'll see. Kentucky has done really well under Mark Pope. Obviously won last night in a big game, and I'm sure they'll be high and ready to play up there when Arkansas gets up there. So it looks bleak for the weekend, but you never know. You just never know. That's why you show up and play. Many times we've seen teams that shouldn't win ball games do it. So I'm sure he'll go up there. He'll have a good game plan, and it'll be about execution, and hasn't been the execution they've needed so far during the SEC season. They were fine during the regular season. I mean, non-conference season.
Yeah. Oakley?
Yeah, I got the impression Arkansas fans thought Kyle Perry coming in year one, they'd be competitive. Is that valid at all, or are y'all a little bit underwhelmed?
Well, they heard, Cal was coming in. They heard that Johnny Tyson and others were filling the NIL coffers. So it was just going to be, perfect. They're just going to win right away. In no way did anybody think that it would be this bad getting off to a conference season. But you got one of these leagues now where there are no bad teams except maybe South Carolina and Arkansas, who are resting down at the bottom. And you've got, as I said, they don't have much margin for error. I've said all year on this show that I think they have too many Chiefs and not enough Indians. I think they look for the first shot, not the best shot. And I think that you have a situation. They lost their best player, one of their best players, Boogie Fland, and they came together pretty well after that ball game. Played pretty well against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not that good either, obviously. But it's just you don't lose this many games at home in Arkansas. That's never been a deal.
Yeah.
It's uncharted territory for them. And me, who covers baseball on a regular basis, is fielding a lot of questions about that all of a sudden. As they get ready to start in a few weeks.
I can remember in years past at Auburn when we skipped through basketball. It was like we went straight to spring practice. It was
Don't do that now, do you?
No. And I think Oakley is a student. Your generation, like I tell people, and Dudley and I both. I have 4. You have 4 kids. I always tell people is those are my kids, so they're going to be like me. You go to a game, you stay the full 40, you stay the full 60, don't you? You don't just kind of drop by for a quick drive by, do you?
And so I'm giving it a full-time commitment if I'm going to the game. Yesterday, or to the Tennessee game, I had the 101-degree fever and stayed the whole game. So that one.
I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We got together late in life. My first wife passed away from breast cancer, but I have a story about that. When we were dating, we went to a Dodgers St. Louis Cardinal game at Chavez Ravine. Dodgers were up 8-2. She talked me into leaving. Cardinals came back and won 9-8. We never left another game except one. And that was when at a Cardinal game, she told me, we need to go. And I said, this is a doubleheader. What are you talking about? We're in the 11th inning of a doubleheader. This is great. Hey. That was before they shut up beer sales, And she said, well, I think I'm pregnant. And I said, well, okay, here we go.
Hey, Oakley, about 2 years ago at the Auburn-Penn State game, I was there with my friend Dr. Waller May, and we moved down to like section 16, and it was pretty bad. Y'all remember it was like 44-18 in the fourth quarter. Wilson texted me and said, Dad, you're still here, aren't you? I said, you're damn right. I'm staying the full 60. I said, it's like watching sausage being made. And he goes, I go, you here? And he goes, absolutely. It was the red man. You don't leave. I always tell people this. Have you ever seen your mom or dad or your grandparents leave one of your games, even if you were getting curb stomped? No, don't leave. I know it sucks sometimes that you can't leave, but Coach John Brady is going to join us here. And Oakley, stay on as long as you can. I know your scholarly pursuits rank number 1. I know that when I was a freshman, I never missed class. I did it all right. But Coach John Brady, Final Four from Macomb, Mississippi. We've got one of our interns on here, Oakley McFerrin, down in Auburn. He's a freshman, Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net. We had Ron Slay on. I wanted him to be on with you, but you had to switch from 8 to 8:30 today. But we'll get y'all back together in the next few weeks. Man, he reminds me of why I love basketball so much. But Dudley and Oakley, I don't know if you've ever talked to a Final Four coach, but John Brady is the color analyst on the LSU network now, but he took the Tigers to the Final Four in 2006. And, we're just talking about loyalty and commitment. These coaches, you look at all the money they make nowadays. Ask Coach Brady how much he made his first 3 years, $15,000.
Wow. Jeez.
It's
not a bang for your buck.
You didn't have to react with that much disgust.
But then he got to making the serious money. But now, and I want him on SEC Network. You and Ron Slay together with Patrick Young and the shooter, Pat Bradley, would be crazy fun watching y'all on there like that. So, Coach, what about this league race, man? You've been talking about John Calipari in Arkansas. It's wild.
Do what now? What did you say about Calipari in Arkansas? What about him?
No, I think you may have been muted or I lost you for a second, but I was asking you about John Calipari at Arkansas. They're getting so close. The losses, they're not getting blown out. What do you think's going on right now? Because he's got a pretty much, I think Dudley would back me up on this, a totally new roster?
Well, I think that's the most difficult thing now in coaching is you bring in 7 or 8 or 9 new players and try to mesh them into a team that functions. And you can grade a player on his talent level and the points he produces and all of those kinds of things, but the camaraderie and the chemistry that's developed when they practice and on the floor is the key to having a championship team. The best teams I ever had probably got along better than the other teams that I coached. And I don't know the inner workings of the Arkansas team, but in terms of watching them play, they don't seem to play as a connected group like some teams that you see, particularly an Auburn team. Alabama at times is mostly like that. They weren't connected against us the other day, though. Sears set out the whole second half. And I don't know what happened there either, but certainly, I watched Kentucky last night. I mean, they made baskets, but I thought Tennessee played well. I haven't seen that out of the Arkansas team. The flow, the connectedness, the care and concern, the camaraderie that championship teams possess. And so we'll see how it goes. But like anything else, though, you need some success to keep the players hopeful, confident, and hopefully they can get a couple of wins. I think they gave one away. They beat Georgia. They came back and lost at home. So, that was a tough one for them to lose. But hopefully they can win a couple. And, I'm not one that's down on John Calipari. I don't know. People are a little bit. Like somebody says the game's passing by. I don't think the game passes anyone by. I just think he's had too much success to just sweep it under the rug because this year isn't going the way he would like, his players would like, or especially those Razorback fans.
Coach, one of the biggest things I'm seeing is they take the first shot, not the best shot. I mean, you've got a lot of high school stars, and I know you in your success had to deal with a lot of, egos and them working together. Like you said, that cohesiveness not there. And it just, having coming from the Eddie Sutton coaching tree, it just drives me nuts when I see the first shot going up just because it's there.
Well, I agree with that, and it goes back to a team that understands and has a concern about each other, understands what a good shot is, what a bad shot is, who's supposed to take the shot, who your best players are, and give that up for the betterment of the team, regardless of what you think. I think trust and respect are two cornerstones of any successful operation, whether it's a friendship, a marriage, a relationship, players and coaches. I think if the cornerstone isn't trust and respect, you have a hard time ever getting it where it needs to be really successful. So maybe that's something that a characteristic of this Arkansas team. I don't think there's a lot of trust with the players, with each other, and respect one another, or the coaching staff. Maybe it has something to do with it. But I think those intangibles of trust and respect on a really championship team has to be your base to operate off of in order to do something significant.
Yeah. Coach, looking at this race right now, 1 through 16, even South Carolina and Arkansas, who are down at the bottom in the standings, they're good teams. I mean, they're not getting blown out by 20 and 30 every night. The longer you lose, is it kind of you start every time something goes wrong? Is it harder to snap back and say we got this versus here we go again? I mean, you don't want that. It's cancerous, isn't it?
Well, I think as a coach, you have to know your team, engage where it is and what you need to do in terms to get them to play better. We go to Alabama and we play pretty well. I don't think Alabama played great. Sears had a terrible game. I still think LSU played well and also had an opportunity to win the game. So I think there's even though winning is what we're about, even though LSU lost the game and where they are with only one SEC win, I think there were some positives to pull out of that game to give them a plan, a road to how they could have won the game and give them some hope. I'm glad McMahon didn't beat the team up. I think they're beyond that right there. I don't think that needs to be what they need to do. But certainly I think the positives we displayed against a really good Alabama team on their home floor is something we can carry over into this game with Auburn tonight, because that's going to be a real challenge.
Yeah, it definitely. Janai Broome, there or not, it's a road game in the SEC, and Dudley, you lose one at home, you got to win 2 on the road to make up for it, don't you?
Yeah, and Arkansas has lost 4 at home now, and that's just that was a season worth, back in the heyday or whatever. They, as you said, you got to get some confidence, and it's low right now. Like they had the opportunity there Saturday to get that win. That might have sprung them up a little bit. 2-5 may not be the greatest record, but it's better than 1-6. And here they go into, as I said, got an off week, and at the end of the off week, it's at Kentucky. So that's not your promising end there, but we'll see how they play.
Coach, the question of the day is, for a 30 rack of Ham's beer and a steamer pack of Crystals, what's that background behind Dudley? If you can name it, that's your prize.
My background behind
Dudley? Yeah, on the screen. Can you see him?
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Appalachian State football stadium, I think, isn't it?
Baseball.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I couldn't see the field, but yeah, I don't know the purpose of that, but congratulations.
Yeah. He a lot of times he has Pebble Beach in the background.
I'm working on a backup computer today, and there's not that many shots available to put behind there. So
a lot of times he comes in from Pebble Beach background, which is beautiful, and then the Boston Mountains up there in northwest Arkansas. Coach, you've been at Samford, Arkansas State. Arkansas State's having a pretty good year. They came in and just stomped Memphis at the FedEx Forum. What is, with basketball, you have 13 on scholarship. Most teams carry about 10 on average. When you bring in the 6 guys, the core of your Final Four team, all those kids were from the Baton Rouge, Napoleonville, the area right around Baton Rouge, Denham Springs, places like that. It's when you bring kids in from across the country and they aren't getting enough touches in football or plays in basketball, is it easier for them to quit versus the local guys that if they go home and quit the rest of their lives, they're going to go, didn't you go to LSU and quit?
Well, what I think makes it easier to quit is the ability to transfer with no penalty. I think, and I do think young men that play closer to home have a less chance of transferring, even without the portal and the money. But certainly I think coupled with somebody being away from home, that link that you're talking about, 4, 5, 6 states across the country or whatever, then you pay him money, and then he's allowed to transfer with no penalty. Because sometimes I think the money some of these guys make at a young age, they haven't done anything really to deserve that type of payment. I go back to Michael Jordan. You ever seen him sit on Oprah Winfrey? And he says, Charles Barkley sitting there with him, and he says, in my era, Larry Bird, myself, Charles Barkley, he named a couple other guys, we earned the right to have corporations come to us by what we accomplished. We earned that by what we did. He said, in today's world, they're getting money when they hadn't earned it or established themselves to be worthy of it. And he thinks that creates a bad work ethic. I think I'm along those lines more so than the other way. So if you're paying a young man about $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000, and he's never done anything to earn it or deserve it by what he hasn't accomplished yet, then when the coach comes down on him for criticizing his play or challenging him in some way, he said, well, that can't be my fault. It's got to be somebody else's fault. So he doesn't look at himself first. And if you don't look at yourself first, how do you ever get better? So I think it in the transfer portal, I think all of that plays into effect of guys leaving. We were fortunate on that Final Four team. Our top 4 players, 4 of them from Baton Rouge, 1 from St. Martinville, and 1 from Denham Springs, within 40 miles of LSU.
Wow.
So that made a difference too.
Yeah.
You know, they loved LSU. They loved Louisiana. It was coming off the heels of Katrina when it had devastation in
Yeah.
New Orleans. And we were able to use that as a unifying factor for us to play well and show Louisiana, to give them something to hang their hats on and be proud of
Yeah.
again. So, you know, but I think the transfer portal and the money you're paying overrides how far away they are. But I think you make a good point. And that's part of guys leaving now like they
Yeah.
are.
Dudley.
Rob, there's another thing that's working with Arkansas here. They have no Arkansas players on their team. It's just the way it worked itself out because he had to, recruit the 10 guys that he brought in. But also, you mentioned Arkansas State. They're having, as I said, they're having a phenomenal season. And part of their core rotation is Joseph Pinion and Darian Ford, two players that were here from Arkansas. They left, obviously, before Coach Cal got here, but those two guys having success, and especially Arkansas not being a great outside shooting team, and Joseph Pinion knocking down threes left and right, it fuels into the frustration. There's nothing that Coach Cal can do about that. Like I said, they would already go before he's here, but stuff like that plays into a frustration of a fan base, whether it's right or accurate or not.
Yeah. No, I see your point.
Let me say that. Plus, in Jonesboro, they've woke up some of those rice farmers. They got that sneaky money down there. And their NIL's a lot better. I had no NIL when I was there, but they got some NIL flowing.
Yeah, I grew up 30 miles from Jonesboro and went to more Arkansas State games than I did Arkansas growing up, obviously. And Don Scaife and all those guys over there, it was a great thing. I'm glad to see them having success. There are a lot of people in the state who pick a side, but especially when you're supposed to be an objective sports writer, you don't pick a side. You like everybody to do well.
Yeah.
But speaking of sports writers, Coach, and Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville is with us right now. And I was texting Vince. He gets up, Coach, now Central Time we're talking, 5 to 8 a.m. Central, does a 3-hour show in the morning, and then he's gracious enough to come on here with us. And from Tampa, I always talk when he goes home to Mama Ferrara's Kitchen. He needs to have a restaurant because, I love hearing the stories about great food. But Vince, I was watching that Tennessee game last night, and I was on the Buddy Martin show with Brendan and Franz Beard and Lauren and Buddy. Another close loss for Tennessee. Kind of break it down what you see happening, because I know you do stats and you're part of the Vol Network. And, Coach Brady is the color analyst on the LSU Tiger Network, which is a great network, which I've grown up listening to on WWL 870. King Edward Cigar Time is 8:44 a.m. Central if you're crossing the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway.
Yeah, I spent time in Cajun country in New Orleans. That was my first radio job. So certainly aware of Coach Brady. Good to be on with all of you guys. And yeah, last night it was tough for Tennessee. We normally do not see Tennessee have a bad performance or even a loss of any form after a loss. They're really good under Rick Barnes at bouncing back from losses, which they took at Auburn on Saturday, 53-51. And then Tennessee just did not have the same level of energy defensively that Rick Barnes is accustomed to seeing. They're as good a defensive team statistically as there is in the country. And then Kentucky made early threes, and then they made early second half threes, and they were really efficient. 12 of 24 from beyond the three-point line for the Wildcats. Rick Barnes said that wasn't even what hurt us. It was backdoor cuts and turnovers here and there, and just giving up drives from time to time. It wasn't a lot of any of those things. Only had 5 turnovers in the game, but they were timely and costly for Tennessee. And Tennessee shot the second most threes attempts in a single game in Tennessee basketball history. 45 3-point attempts. That's something that the Lady Vols do with Kim Caldwell playing wide open style.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they only hit 11 of them. So that Kentucky was packing the lane, and the more Tennessee missed, the more they were daring Tennessee to shoot. And Rick Barnes said he knew that Kentucky was going to do that. And Tennessee has been struggling from 3-point range. They're now a 31% shooting team in SEC play from beyond the arc. So what's everybody going to continue to do? They're going to pack the lane and they're going to dare Tennessee to shoot threes and take that, the settling for threes. There were a lot of open looks, just weren't making them. This isn't a prolific enough shooting team to where you can get away with that. They are a drive, break it down, and then kick for the right kind of threes team. And another thing Kentucky did that was brilliant with them packing the lane is Tennessee is so good at their rim running lob action, especially from Ziegler to Okpara and Phillips and their bigs, and those alley-oops are a weapon for Tennessee, but Tennessee couldn't get in the lane. Kentucky was defending that. So they were not only inviting the three, but they were defending that weapon for the Vols. So rough night for the Vols, because this is a 3-game home stretch. And then it's 4 or 5 on the road in the best league in the country. That's tough. And so it was surprising. Kentucky didn't have their starting point guard and their heart and soul, according to Mark Pope, and one of their top bench guys as well. And another starter, Carr, was just back, and he probably wasn't 100% either. And yet Kentucky still won, where nobody wins at Thompson-Boling Arena. I think Kentucky may be the last team to beat Tennessee at Thompson-Boling Arena, Food City Center, which is what happened at the end of last year, where both teams won on the road.
Yeah, Coach. You're hearing what Vince said, and Dudley and I, and I'll love to hear your opinion on it, because Tennessee was number 1 not too long ago, and now they're 4-4 in the sausage grinder we call the SEC men's basketball.
Well, I think Kentucky, somewhat like Alabama, is a rhythm team, and they get in a rhythm of offense where they start making threes, and it kind of infectious to everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I think the first couple of shots Kentucky made, as soon as the tip was on, they made one pass, hit a three, and then it was Kentucky just played well the whole game. I didn't think Tennessee played badly. I didn't realize they shot 40 some odd threes. I didn't watch the whole game. I kind of watched the highlights. But that's not a typical Rick Barnes team to be shooting 40 some odd threes. I mean, if Kentucky forced them to do that and they settle for threes, got a little impatient or a little frustrated, whatever the case may be, yeah, that's not going to bode well for what they're about. They are a driving team, score around the goal. He's an inside-out coach. If I had to just label him as one, free throw line's important to Tennessee. If you keep them off the line and make them shoot threes and they can't get at the rim, certainly that's a good recipe on the road for winning. Plus, a good recipe is Kentucky makes 12 or 13 threes, shoots 50% from the three-point line. That's another pretty good recipe for winning on the road as well. So, it's all about close games. I've always thought a successful season or a significant season was teams' ability to win close games, however they are able to do it. So, Tennessee won a couple, but then they've lost some lately close. And I never thought Kentucky would go into Knoxville and win that game, because Tennessee, that's a game they really needed to win to do something like win the league and that sort of thing. So it was a tough loss for Tennessee, a great win for Kentucky. And, I think the top 6 or 8 teams in this league are really, really good. I'm trying to figure out, when they talk about 12 teams going to the NCAA tournament, I'm trying to figure out who those other 2 or 3 teams are going to be. And I think only time will tell as the season moves along.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Dudley, you heard what Coach said and what Vince said. The top 6, 7 teams are outstanding. And Joe Lunardi even, I think, said 13 possibly could go. That's the crazy part about it, that it's that good, and we're only a little over a third of the way.
Well, that's because they weren't playing each other at the time. What you're saying, there's 13, then they started playing each other, and the cream rise to the top.
Yeah. Vince, we cannibalize ourselves, don't we?
Well, for sure. Tennessee is the 8th ranked team in the country in both polls. They're 10th in the SEC standings right now at 4-4. That should tell you everything right there. But Lunardi, in his most recent projections last night, He has 13 SEC teams. In fact, Texas is the only one on the 12 line, that is right there on the cusp. A couple of those others are close within the range, but it was 13. It wobbled to like 12, maybe 11 at one point, but now it's come back. And these teams are going to continue to play quad one games. Now you got to win some of them, but their resume stacks up. Tennessee is still the number 4 net team. They have all 13 of those teams are top 50 net teams. So, the resumes aren't going to take big drop-offs unless you play South Carolina every week because they're winless. But it is a meat grinder. There's no doubt about it. And look, you got to win your home games, and that's why Coach pointed out it was a game that Tennessee needed to win. And I'll tell you what, and you guys obviously talk about the Florida on the Buddy Martin show. Mm-hmm. And here on Sidelines, that Florida game on Saturday for Tennessee now looms even larger for a couple of reasons. One, you need to get back on track. But Tennessee was housed in Gainesville by 30. You think that the committee won't hold that against Tennessee if they lose again to Florida? If you win and you get back at them, then maybe that softens that blow a little bit. If you lose at home to Florida and have that 30-point blowout, a historic for a number 1 undefeated team, that's going to hurt you. So this is an opportunity to try to erase that and obviously get back on track.
No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I the committee, but we talk about that, the bubble, and it gets down to crunching numbers. Dudley, Coach, respond to that because it makes a lot of sense. And let me say before you do it, Winter Timber Outdoors, folks, they're open every day of the week. Athens, Alabama, with a footprint that will be the Southeastern Conference. They've expanded. They're building a store in Auburn right now. They're looking in the Memphis market, looking at Athens, Georgia, Fayetteville. They have everything you need for all the shooting sports. There's not another store like them in the South. Locally owned by Kenny Winter and his group. Their bottom line mission is, shotguns, rifles, handguns, over 2,000 in the store. All the gear you need, duck hunting, deer hunting, turkey hunting. Hey, duck season sadly ends in about 60 hours, and we'll all hang our heads and cry. But then we get into the goose conservation season. But you've got quail season still, turkey season coming up. Everything you need for outdoor life, you can buy it at Winter Timber Outdoors in Athens, Alabama, soon coming to an SEC town near you. Coach, you and Dudley just heard what Vince said again. Somebody want to respond to maybe what you can extrapolate from what he said, and we'll kind of do some rapid fire here in the last few minutes.
The biggest thing that I learned today, I guess, and I realized I didn't check the standings before I got up this morning, but the SEC is so good. If Tennessee is one of the best teams in the country and they're presently 10th in the league, you talk about cannibalization, that is it right there. I mean, my goodness. It's tough. I remember when the SEC football was like this.
Yeah, just last year.
Well, if that's the case, you're going to look at some 7 and 11 teams get in the NCAA tournament. They've got to go that deep because there's going to be some 7 and 11 teams that are finishing 10th, 11th, and 12th. And I was asked a question about the SEC and how deep it was. They said, Coach, what do you think about 12 or 13 teams getting into the NCAA tournament? Well, my response was, I feel bad for those other 3 coaches that didn't get in. That's my point. I mean, their athletic director are going to be looking at them cross-eyed saying, what's wrong with y'all? So that's the biggest question for me. At 13, that's cool. But those other 3 that don't make it, oh, my goodness. Could be tough.
Well, somebody needs to get that guy. I felt like the weatherman, the Squatch. I've got the sign that says this property protected by Sasquatch. Could you imagine him as the inside presence on the court? That would be pretty cool. I think I heard last night, is it Florida that has a 7'9" guy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Redshirted.
in basketball?
He's redshirted because his skills have not caught up with his height yet.
Yeah. And I remember Pat Bradley, who was like 7'6" from BYU, was taken number 4 overall by the Sixers in like 1986. When you're that tall, it's like being a young giraffe.
John Bradley.
That's Sean Bradley. Yeah. Yeah. And that was another world there. Vince, okay, now Tennessee at 4-4, and Coach and Dudley just broke it down. What do you think happens against the Gators? Because, man, if they get Handglotten comes back, as Franz Beard calls it, 25 tall fouls with that lineup, 25 tall ones to give away.
Yeah, and Florida's length gave Tennessee problems. I mean, obviously, when you win by 30, everything was working for Florida. But what it does is Florida is the type of team that can do what Kentucky did, and that's invite Tennessee to shoot those threes, and with their length and wingspan, keep you out of the lane. Tennessee was never able to drive the lane with any regularity and in that first meeting. So they're going to play like Kentucky did. And Florida's best defensive effort, I still think to this day, is the game they played against Tennessee, because they've given up some points in some games after that. So yeah, Florida's going to be confident. They just saw Kentucky win in Knoxville, so they're going to be like, hey, we can win too. So yeah, I think Florida's in a great position. And, oh, by the way, that's a second straight Saturday opponent of Tennessee's that has a midweek game off. So Florida also rested and working on Tennessee even more after having already seen them. I think Florida has the advantage despite Tennessee's historically being so dominant at home. I have concerns about Tennessee. Not that they can't fix them, but they have not had answers to issues when those have cropped up. And the shooting is a concern. Their lack of depth is a concern for me. I don't think Chaz Lanier has made the transition in SEC play. He's made a few more shots here and there, but it's still high volume from three. I'd like to see him get in the paint, drive. He's got a really good pull-up game. But, man, their leading scorer is not Dalton Knecht when people were comparing him to Dalton Knecht. He's not that kind of guy yet. It's more of a grind. So now you're relying on all your other players, and not everyone is coming through enough for you. So this team has things to work on and get better. But when do you have time? When you have Florida, and then Missouri's next at home in midweek, and they're playing really well right now. Also, before you go on the road for 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think I saw where Missouri's 15-0 at home.
Yeah. Well, no, it'll be in Knoxville next week. But then after that, Tennessee has 4 or 5 on the road. So it's tough.
Well, wasn't Missouri 0-18 in the conference last year, cuz?
Yeah,
0-18.
Right. Yeah, they were 0-18.
How do you pull a team out of that mental hole? Yeah.
Well, you got to compliment the coach. I mean, he pulled in some guys off the portal that were really good, and they've meshed together. And I think the coaches that can put together a team in a shorter period of time now are the ones that are going to be the most successful. You know, we used to have guys coming back. You could watch your team grow and build and recruit to different parts. But now, if you get a wholesale squad of 8 new guys, and you can get them to play together at the level they need to be successful in this crazy league, you've done a heck of a job as a coach. So, and I'm going to go back to Tennessee. You know, it's confusing to me. Of all my years of coaching, a number 1 team in the country gets just manhandled by 30 some odd points. I don't know. I don't know if there's something fundamentally not right with Tennessee from time to time, but the ups and downs of their play and the inconsistencies of it, you know, that bothers me a little bit to label them one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country, and hopefully they can stabilize their play. If you lose, I don't see how you get beat 30 some odd points if you're supposed to be the best team in the country. I don't know many number 1 teams who have gotten beaten in that fashion. So, but like you say, you know, Tennessee's got some tough, important games coming up, and we'll see how they correct themselves over the next 2 or 3 games.
Missouri has, I think one of Missouri's successes, and Coach Brady mentioned it, but role player doesn't mean you suck. It's got a negative connotation at times. Role player means you fit into the puzzle the way it's supposed to be. And there are so many great role players out there who might not get the headlines, but they're what makes that team go.
I
Vince, I
agree.
think
They're tough.
Tennessee,
They play
yeah,
hard.
yeah, and Tennessee having to play Florida again Saturday, and then Missouri. This is a team that I think going down the stretch will catch a hot streak because the games that they're losing, other than Florida, have been really close. Is it how many scholarship players does Tennessee have right now? 8?
Only 9.
God.
Yeah. And the 9th really plays 1 to 4 minutes. A freshman guard, they're only signing from this class. I wish they would have played him earlier. He was a little bit banged up with the shoulder, but Rick Barnes doesn't always trust his freshmen and his guards to where he kind of on them. And then, then you're forced into action, whether it's foul trouble or injuries or whatever. So because he hasn't played a ton, he's not as effective now against, high level of competition in Bishop Boswell, but they need more from their bench. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, and all of y'all have made so many great points about this. Here's Tennessee at 4-4, ranked 8th in the country, but 10th in the SEC, and just keeping those guys together. I like what Coach said. If you get 8 guys, totally new roster, how you keep everybody, you get them, if you get them to play, if they care about each other, that's a fun locker room.
Well, winning makes it fun.
Well, and Jay Billis pointed out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, there was a delay, so we lost.
Well, I was just going to say, Jay.
No, I was just saying winning makes it fun. And I agree that the shorter period of time, coaches that can figure it out and how to get guys to come together like that and understand what is and how to get it at a high efficient level night in and night out are the ones that are going to win games.
Yeah.
Jay Billis said your rotation should be 8 or 9, not your total scholarship roster players on your roster, and that's what Tennessee's dealing with. They had a big in JP Estrella that came in last year and defended Zach Edey in the Elite Eight, and then Cameron Carr, a really super talented wing that left the team while he was injured, and now he's enrolling at Baylor as a walk-on. His former high school coach is on the Baylor staff, so he's not even in the portal yet, but he's going to be a walk-on on this year's Baylor team. That's
Blue Yeti question for Dudley Dawson. Dudley, I'll make a prediction. I think Arkansas wins 4 more conference games before the season's over. I think that's gonna. I just watching Cal all the years at Memphis. He won't stop coaching, and he'll get it out of those guys. So I think it's going to be, man. This season, people that say the regular season doesn't matter are either not fans of a good program, or they don't follow a good league. But and last thing for any of y'all, y'all watch a lot of basketball? And I asked this last night. The Big East, UConn's still the best team up there, but it ain't the UConn of the previous 2 years. What other league besides the SEC's playing this kind of competitive basketball top to bottom? I'm just looking out ahead to March Madness, which will be here before we know it.
I think the Big 12 is really good. I watched Iowa State last night go and win out at Arizona, and or was that 2 nights ago? It's all running together. But I think that's a really good league that will have plenty of teams in it as well, and it helps, I guess, when you've got 16 in a league now. I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around, only 3 teams not getting, into the NCAA tournament when it used to be half the league maybe got in. And if you didn't, everybody had to worry about their jobs.
Yeah, it is. Coach, any closing comments from this? I love this discussion today.
Talking about other teams around the country, I think Michigan State is a surprise team, and I think they're a lot better than people think. And I don't think they're getting enough love around the country for what they've been able to do. And I'm glad Izzo is one of the, old school guys that are still coaching it like you're supposed to. Yeah. He and Kelvin Sampson, and they seem to be successful, still doing it like they've done it for a long time. They may have changed and tweaked some things in their approach from a challenging players, not make it personal. mistakes I made from time to time, but certainly I think Izzo's done a great job with that team, and he wasn't given a lot of credit early about how good they were going to be, but I think they're a team that's a sleeper out there and may, at the end of the day, go deep into the tournament.
Yeah, I love Tom Izzo as a coach. Always have. Vince?
Yeah, I agree. He's Italian, so
Yeah,
I'm
right.
a little biased towards Coach Izzo too. So I would say, in terms of a conference, I agree with Dudley. I would go Big 12. They have 5 of the top 14 in the net rankings right now, and then after that, Big 10, because maybe they don't have someone you view as a national championship type of team, but the ones that are at or near the top of the standings, including, as Coach mentioned, Michigan State, Purdue, Illinois, there's some good depth there, but I would give the Big 12 overall an edge.
Great stuff today, man. Love the insight. Let's do it again next week. I'll go back and watch all these shows, and I do take a lot of notes, but it's hard to beat this anywhere, man. So all of y'all, follow him, Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, Coach John Brady with the LSU Basketball Network, Vince Farrar, the sports animal in Knoxville. Put those apps on your phone. You'll be a lot smarter for it, man. Thank y'all for your time this morning. All right. Let's say something
guys,
real quick about sponsors like Landers Ford, Memphis.com. They're open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Service department opens up at 7 a.m. If you got to have your vehicle serviced, they'll pick you up and provide transportation. There are lots of opportunities right now to save big. Look at this on the Expedition. Save up to $14,000 off MSRP. F-150, 2024 F-150 Lightning Lariat, $10,500 off MSRP. Mustang Mach-E Premium up to $5,000. F-250 Super Duty up to $5,500 off MSRP. 2025 Savings Overdrive. The Ford Power Promise, all part of the experience. Landers Ford, all over the Mid-South, and they will deliver anywhere. And tell them you heard about them on the SEC sidelines. They'll take $500 off. It's the number one Ford dealership in the Mid-South. Ain't because they're lucky. It's because they're good, and they're exceptional in service and the follow-up commitment. Located at Poplar and Houston Levy, they're open again every day except Sunday. If you didn't buy your last vehicle from Landers, probably paid too much. Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. When you go in there, the first thing you'll notice is, wow, they've got a lot of stuff. Great looking clothes. They've got a boot room. They got a live concert coming up here soon, live from the boot room that they'll be doing. They do great, country themed music in there. They have road sodas in there for you while you're shopping. Charles Hall, J.M. Huffman, Raven Carpenter, Laura, Charles's wife, Squidward, the whole team, Lydia, they're all out there. You walk in, hey, I'm looking for something for Valentine's for my wife or my girlfriend, or want to get a birthday present for one of my kids or a friend or my boss. They got it all out there. Their website has been updated. Filson, Barber, STS, Old South, Devil Dog Jeans, Duckhead, Schaefer, Pendleton, all that good-looking stuff you see them wearing on Yellowstone. You can buy all those clothes at HewlettandDunn.com. Large selection of products and fast shipping. Great-looking hats. Got to get Brendan another cowboy hat here soon. They've got every size. And also, if you've got boots and you need them fixed up, they've got a couple of boot ears that will get them looking better than they were probably when you took them out of the box after 5 minutes. They can restore boots, new soles, leather, shine. We'll bring them back to life. Look, all of our sponsors, all of them, QR codes up here during the show. They're found at Sidelines, www.sidelines.live. So, awesome show. Thanks to all our guests and executive producer, Brendan Martin. We will be back tomorrow. Share the show, man. Have a great one, everybody. Thanks for watching.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.